I'm Julie with Bookshelf by Julie. I'd like to welcome you to my crafty space where I'm still working on Christmas journals. And so, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It's an old movie. I hope everybody's seen it. The Sound of Music. I was thinking about that when I was pondering this video. Maria, when she was trying to teach the kids how to sing, she said the best place to start is the very beginning. So I thought I would start at the very beginning of putting together an envelope journal. I've done bits and pieces of this before, and it's pretty simple, but sometimes if you don't know how to do it, it's not simple, right? So I'm going to go through it step by step this time and show you how to do this, and that'll be us starting at the very beginning because we've got to get moving on these Christmas journals or they're not going to get made. Okay, first off is you need envelopes. I like these more sturdy, heavy-duty craft envelopes. You can use whatever kind you want, but sometimes I order these and I get these really good ones that are sturdy and thick, you know. And sometimes I order these, same company and everything, and I get these ones here that are, well, they're a little bit different color. I hope you can see that on the camera. But they're also thinner, and they're not nearly as good, in my opinion. But, hey, I use them anyways. I put, this is just a file folder piece cut out to fit just inside. And I only do this for the front and the back. If you have these or any envelope that's thin, you know, thin, flimsy-ish kind of paper, I would suggest getting something. This file folder's not that thick, but something that you can put in there to give it a little bit of more oomph, you know, little sturdiness. So that's what I do with the thinner envelopes. They're fine to use for this because you're going to math them and they're going to become strong that way. But to me, I just like that extra little bit of putting something in there. So make you an insert out of a file folder. Just cut it out to whatever size you want or need for your envelope and stick it in there for your front and your back. You don't have to do that for the insides, right? Because they're inside and they're not going to get as much roughed up, I guess, as the outside. The outside you have to be a little more careful with. It is an envelope after all. Okay, so here we go. We're starting at the very beginning, just like Maria said. We take our first envelope and we turn the flap backwards. Then we lay that aside. Then we take our next envelope and we turn the flap backwards. Okay? We want it to be to where it's going to be, it will get used to this way instead of this way, right? Because I know some people do making envelope journals differently than I do. This is just the way I do it. Some people will take this and tuck it inside. They'll put glue on the flap and they'll tuck it inside the... Boy, that's complicated to me. Now, it works for other people. So if you like doing that, then do it that way. This is the way I do it. I just filled my glue, so let's hope for the best. So I just go along this place where you would normally moisten the envelope to close it, right? Sorry, I might stammer a bit because when you're doing something and trying to talk at the same time, yeah, that gets a little bit fiddly. Okay, get stuff out of my way. What I do is I line up the bottoms. Am I in shot? Yeah, I line up the bottoms of my envelopes to where they're even with each other. Then I simply put them up together. Don't squash them yet. Stack them sides and top and bottom, and then lay it down and press it. This, to me, is the best way to do it, right? Excuse me. Once you have this on here, you're good. You don't have to worry about it letting go or anything like that. Those envelopes are connected, okay? And you still have your flap here. We're going to use that later for something else. For this, oh, I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so this is the next one, and we're just going to do the same thing. Put it on the area where you're going to moisten. You don't want to put it down in here because this whole thing is open. And if you want to use that for a pocket, you would be closing it up. Now, some of them you might not want to use for a pocket. That's fine. But this way you leave yourself all the options open to use it as a pocket or not, right? So, once again, we're lining up the bottoms. Hope you can see that because I'm trying to look at what I'm doing. And then we're going to stack it up again, straight-ish. Stack it like so, so that when you lay it down, it's in the right place. Okay? Yeah. Now we've got 3 of them. And really, if you don't want to go any further than that, that's fine. You can do this with 3. I've done many of them with 3. Just 3 envelopes, okay? But this time I'm going to do 4. And I'm going to make some inside flaps, okay? So, what we're going to do, same thing again. Move that out of my way. Flap turns backwards so it knows what it's supposed to do. Oh, me and my little thingy. I like these bottles, but sometimes I wish they just had a snap-on cap. You know, I like them though. They really do keep your glue from clogging up so much. Every now and then it'll happen. I think it happens every which way you try it. It's the thing that works the best for me. Just to decant it into these and, you know, go for it. Okay, so once again, we're turning that backwards. We're lining up our envelopes at the bottom, putting them up here and stacking them. Stack them like so. So they're straight, then lay it down. Alright, press it. Give it a good pressing. Okay, now we've got our base almost finished. This is the next part it's pretty simple. The whole thing's simple. I mean, you know, after you know how to do it, you go, oh, well, that's so easy. You know, I like easy. I don't pull this. I don't pull this. I let it just sort of gently fold over, and then I kind of gently crease that so that you've got your spine forming. You don't want to just flatten that because you're going to need that extra space when you start putting stuff in this as a journal, right? Okay, so, oh, I'm going to get these out of my way. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on this again. Same thing like before, only this time we're going to be sealing it up. This is going to be our journal base, and we're going to have plenty of room in there to do all kinds of stuff, right? Okay. Now, you don't have to use the craft card. You can use any kind of envelopes. You can use some pretty colors, whatever. But if they are thin, just kind of take in mind my little advice about, you know, putting the inserts in for the outside parts. This is pretty thick on its own when you get these kind. And when you mat that on both sides, then it really is sturdy. I worry about these ones, these other kind, not being quite sturdy enough if you don't put something in there. With a journal, you want sturdy, you want something that's going to last and be, you know, there. So now you've got your spine here, and you've got your 4 pages in, you know, your 4 envelopes in together. They're done really well. Now, the next part of what you do is you get whatever you're going to cover your spine with. Different people use different things. Some people use Tyvek, and that's really good stuff. It's expensive, I find, and so I don't generally use that unless I get something for free. You know, I'm just, we won't say cheap, I'm frugal, right? So we want, this is just cotton fabric, okay? It's cheap, we'll say inexpensive, and you can, it's really tough, okay? Just plain old cotton fabric. Let me get something to get this to the right size. Let me see. I don't want it to be too long for what I'm doing, because these I'm just putting the stuff over it. I'll save that for some little clustery things later. Anyways, we've got this, and I use now if you use Fabri-Tac, use that, but use the same technique I'm using, because Fabri-Tac will be shiny. This will be a little shiny too. The Art Glitter Glue or the Cosmic Shimmer doesn't, but you can still see glue lines if you don't smooth it out. This is a neutral, pH neutral PVA, professional quality, archival, adhesive, whatever, blah, 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 ideal for bookbinding and paper projects. So this is what I use, and I'll show you what I do. It's not rocket science. It's not hard. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I just put a little bit of glue down through here, and you say, oh, that looks messy. Yeah, it does. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the finger tool. Everyone has the finger tool. Pretty simple to use, right? Don't leave any places where it looks like it's super white, because that will make a, well, what I call a glue line, you know? And you just don't want a glue line showing on your work, because that just gets awkward. It doesn't look pretty, okay? So we're going to do that. What I do now, you don't have to do this part, but I do it just because I like to have a little bit right there on my little bitty narrow spine, you know, because I know this is all going to flatten out. When you put stuff in this journal, it's going to sort of flatten out and round up, you know, and that's fine. That's what it does. That's okay. So, okay, now we're going to do it this way over here. Don't go too far over, because like I said, this is shiny, but I'm going to matte, so it's not that big a deal, right? I just want this got to have a good covering and no glue lines in my anything that might be showing, right? So start from your middle and fold in. And all that frayed, I like it when I have it out showing. I don't mind it when it's going to be under something. It doesn't matter. I like the frayed look. It's fine. Excuse me. I have to get a wipe to, you know, after you use glue, a baby wipe is a really good way to clear up the situation. I always like to keep that cleaned because, well, if I could keep the lid on it, play chase the lid, because that way it doesn't get all clogged up, hopefully, for the next time. Okay, so there's putting it together, right? That's your fabric covered spine. You can do the same thing with Tyvek if you're going to use Tyvek, or if you have the wide bookbinders tape or whatever you're going to use, just, you know, put it on there, because you need something in your center. Here is where you're going to put your, or it's where I'm going to, you don't have to do what I do. You can put it anywhere you want to put. I'll put a signature in the center. Okay, so next, I'm getting all the details in here for all my friends. So next, what I do is I have inside flaps that I'm going to put. So these two, I'm going to take just the tiniest edge off them, right? Not at the same time, because if you do it at the same time, it could just mess you up. I don't like to mess myself up or self-sabotage myself or anything like that. So I just do them one at a time. It doesn't take but just I don't know, a half a minute to do it. So it's pretty simple. And you just have the teeniest little bit of something, you know. And then you open up a really large pocket, right? Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing here. So, pretty simple. Once you know how to do this, you've got a base for just about any journal you want to make. Any kind of journal, just this is the simplest way to do it. So you've got your big open pocket and a place to put your inside flaps, right? Because I'm going to put flaps inside. Now, next thing I want you to notice is on these, no matter what your quality of envelope you're working with, you're going to have to go in and glue these little bits down because they are not glued. Yeah, I know they look like they're glued. They're not. They're fine for going through the postal service. You know, they don't care if it's glued down or not. It's fine. My glue, I just filled it and it's being really, you know, runny with me. So each one of these you want to go through and glue down all your corners, especially where you just cut these off, because you know what? They're going to be poking up. And make sure you're not sealing that up, because sometimes your glue can get in there. You don't want that. Okay, so these corners all get glued down. I hope I'm not boring you to death, but you know, it's base construction of an envelope journal. Things that you just kind of need to know. If this is loose up in here, it doesn't matter because you're going to mat that, or I'm going to mat that, so I don't worry about anything like that. I just make sure I get all these, what are you doing? All these corners, because they will show and they can mess you up later when you're putting things in. Really. So you want to make sure that you get all your corners. Okay. So, really. So yeah, you just want to take each one of these. Like I said, they may look like they're down, but they're not. They're just not. Never trust an envelope or a file folder to be straight or glued down. They just, you know, you have to go in and tend to it. And make sure that they're doing what you want them to do, right? Okay, now, yeah, I filled this glue because I knew I'd be using a lot putting this together and showing my friends how to do it. So now it's being really runny. So there you go. You just want to get that in there and down. Next, what you do is whatever journal you're working on. Now I'm working on my Christmas cabin, working with my Christmas cabin papers, right? So, of course, I'm going to be doing a lot of that. I do, excuse my reach, if it's getting in the way of the camera. I've got a few of them that I'm putting together, right? So, to put the mats on, you just, you know, you get them ready. And I'm going to show this in another video, putting some things together. You get your flaps in, you get your stuff all. With me, I'm always planning it. Where do I want this, and where do I want that, and what's going to go here, and all these things, right? So I cut my papers out. So that's what I would suggest, that whatever you're going to mat them with, decide, and then cut them out. Round your corners if you're going to round them. You know, do what you're going to do, and then get them ready to put on, and then decide where you're going to put them. Part of making a journal, any part of making a journal, is always planning things out, right? So with these, now I'm using these thinner ones here. Since I'm going to put my signature in here, right, I'm going to put the flap facing over this way. So it will go in like so. This way to open up like so, right? And since, once again, I'm going to put my signature here, I'm going to have my, that creates a lot of bulk, so you don't want to add to that bulk. You want to keep that a little bit on the flat-ish side in there where your signature is going to be. Then I'm going to put my flap, you know, going this way, right? So I have just a few minutes. I don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put the flap in. Since we've got it cut open, I'm not going to put an insert in this because it will be matted on both sides and hopefully won't give us any troubles, right? Because it's going to be on the inside. So put where you're going to do, put glue where you're going to put, where you would moisten the envelope. In whatever way you would moisten that envelope. So, yeah. That's a good, you know, way to do that. And then you want to get some right up in that fold. You can wipe it off later if it's too much, but you really want to get this all stuck down. It's going to leave one side of your pocket, well, it's going to leave your pocket open, but it's going to be glued to the side here, okay? So it's going to be glued in here. Once you get this in here, you just go ahead and push it on in there. Come on, get on in there. Stop being ornery. Get in there. Okay. So we put that in and get it to go down in there and behave itself. And give it a pressing, and see, wipe it off, because you can get that really glued in good that way, right? Now, you're leaving options. You can have this as a pocket if you want, I mean, or just an extra flap page. I don't know that I'm going to make it a pocket. I think I'm just going to make it just an extra flap page, you know. Okay, so this one goes in that way. Sometimes it's easier if you have envelopes that are, this is one size and this is a size smaller. That's a little bit easier to put them together this way. But the same size is fine. You might have to work with it a little bit, but it's okay. Yeah, so just, that's the way I'm doing these. And, you know, don't tense up. Just relax and have fun with it. However you want to design your journal. This is the same concept as if you were doing a file folder journal and putting your flapping pages in or whatever. This is the same thing as that. Just slide it in. Like I said, this is a little more complicated. That's why I put the main journal together differently. But you just slide it in and press it in there, and there you go. Then you have your glue there to super bind it down. You want this, you don't want this to be loose. You want this part here to be totally glued down. If you need to, you can put some I don't know, washi tape or something in there, or some fabric, whatever you want to. Generally, I don't put anything in there because I don't want to bulk that fold up. But you can if you need to. Double stick tape right up and under there. That works pretty good. But since this is such a lightweight envelope, I wasn't going to do too much on the, you know, getting it too much anything. Because, yeah. Okay, so now we've got the base of the journal, right? This is the whole base of the journal. Then you start building from there. You can build it whichever way you want. You can put more flaps in. You could take this one off and put a flap coming in this way. It's all up to you. You can put flaps going over this way. You know, smaller envelopes. You can just keep building and building and building until you can't build anymore. But to put an envelope base together, that's just what you do. If you're doing a file folder base and you want to do some extra flips and flaps and stuff, this is the same concept. You just keep building. Different size envelopes give you different flaps, of course, so just do however you want. Do it however you want it to look. Right? Okay, then you start putting your mats on and everything like that. And take a moment after you get it to this point. Take a moment to decide what you want your front to be, what you want your next pages to be, and what you want on those flaps. Do you want that to open, or are you going to close it completely? Just take a moment and think it through. Do your planning and see what feels good for this journal, right? So yeah, just that's the way you put it together. Okay, I hope that's useful to you guys. I hope you had fun with me crafting and putting all these things together. And that's how you do the envelope base. That's how I do it. Other people do it differently. So that's how I do them. So, yep, I hope you're having fun with your crafting. You guys take care. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. TTFN.